Hello and welcome to the Powerful African Woman, the PAW podcast.
The podcast to empower the PAW in you.
My name is Sarong.
And I am Aissatou.
And today, welcome to the second episode of the PAW Series.
Hey, yes.
Yay, I know that's a new format, so still getting excited to it. So, Aissatou, let me just ask you some quick fireside chat questions, because that's always how we started. So, first one, I would say, I kind of know the answers because I know you. But anyways, so the first one is procrastinator or prepare early?
Prepare early. But I do schedule early, but I'm a procrastinator sometimes too.
Right. Second one, perfectionism or flexible?
Perfectionist. That's my issue.
Third one, I would say, usually when you have a situation or like a project, do you do small steps, or you feel like not even a project, but a goal, do you do like small steps to attain your goal, or you feel like it's an all or nothing? Like if I don't get the result now, I just do nothing.
Small steps and organize those small steps. Yeah.
Obviously, because that's the perfectionist in you, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so basically, let's just consider, a situation. So consider something that you frequently fail at for no obvious reason. Is that something that you do or you don't do that consistently frustrates you and frustrates other people?
Yes.
Is there an activity or a task that nags at you and causes you big dissatisfaction because you know you could do it better, but you just don't choose to do it? Those questions I could say yes some of the times, right? Yeah. And I'm sure Aissatou, you too. And I don't think we are the only ones, right? But we tend to create ideas or do things that seem helpful in the short term. But those things, can distance us from the things that really matter and that we really want on the long term. So I don't know if you guys could sense the topic. I'm talking about self-sabotaging.
Oh, yes.
I recently thought about it not even a while ago, but I was talking to my sister, I was like, she always says, oh, you're so talented, you can do whatever you want to do, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I know that I want to do it. I just feel like I'm never ready. I know I could do it. I just feel like I'm never ready, right?
Yes.
Because I'm waiting to have a certain timeline, and that timeline never comes. And then I realized that, oh, wait a minute. I feel like I'm just self-sabotaging myself. And it's not only that one instance. I feel like in some of the goals that happen, there are some moments where I have some self-doubt or where I put nonsense barriers into my goals just to make an excuse of actually not doing it.
Yes.
You see? So what is self-sabotaging? Self-sabotaging is a thinking or a behavior that is holding you back in life and in love. So it's kind of like anticipating a real or imagined obstacle that might get you in the way of success, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we tend to use those excuses not to pursue something that is going to have a big impact in our life just because we have different fears. Aissatou, let me ask you a question, right? Yes. What are things that you think you do that now you will reflect back and think that it was self-sabotage?
Oh, so the first topic that comes to my mind is about my career. And it's so funny that you chose this topic today because this entire week I had this discussion with many women. It's so funny because it was always around the topic of, I don't know if you heard of it, but it's called the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to touch on. So Start elaborating. I like it.
Okay, because it's this feeling that it's women who have it, men don't have that feeling. And in the context of my company, it's I've been working there for 2 years and I have the feeling that, for instance, I haven't learned as much and I'm not capable of conducting the work that is asked for me as well that I would like it to do it. So basically, I feel like I'm an imposter and people think that I have a certain level of technical skills or abilities that I don't feel like I have.
Yeah, I agree completely because it's kind of like you just feel like a fraud.
Exactly.
Right? Into your entourage. You're like, why am I even here? I'm not even capable of doing what is asked for me, right? So you don't feel incompetent, although they hired you because they knew you were competent. So it's kind of like you just battling within yourself and putting that much self-doubt that will actually and eventually in the future affect you on a deeper level, right?
Yes.
So I agree completely. Another point, since you already talk about the imposter syndrome, which is a big one, there's also other things that we do, right? Like being disorganized. And sometimes we think it's okay once or twice, but whenever we are given a big project and you just choose to procrastinate or to not do the things you need to do on the time, that will affect it in the future. That will affect you in the future. Procrastination, that's another thing. Like being indecisive.
Yes.
That's also another thing. It's like you dream about something great that will have a big significance on your life and you don't know if you want to do it.
Yes. The way you're saying it, I feel like there is also the idea of the risk. You self-sabotage yourself because you don't want to take a risk also.
Voila, right? So that's another thing. And then another step I wanted to go deeper on is the perfectionism. That's a big one too in self-sabotage. Because perfectionism, I feel like sometimes people think it's always just wanting things a certain way, which is true, but it's also you not wanting to adjust yourself into different situations, right?
Yes.
And that is also a big leader or like a big cause in self-sabotage because you don't give yourself flexibility.
And also you're not open to others.
Voila.
Because I realized, and PAW had helped me a lot, our PAW adventure, I realized I used to be someone who was really perfectionist in the sense that when I had something in mind, I would stick to it and try my best to get there. So you stay fixating on that thing and you don't let the others also give you some insight. You don't let other things feed you with new ideas. So by being stuck on a position, you miss some opportunities.
Exactly. Right? And that's why at the beginning I asked you, it's all or nothing or all good or all bad. Like there is no middle ground. It's just extremes. And that is what is dangerous with perfectionism, and leading to a lot of self-sabotage because you're not flexible. So just moving on really quick, like the different causes can be, of self-sabotage, right? We can have, because I started to mention, we have fear of failure. You don't want to fail, right? You want control to some extent, which is usually with the perfectionist. You want to control and you feel like by doing certain things you have that control, but it doesn't actually benefit you on the long term, right? You have I feel like a lack of self-esteem is a big one. That self-sabotage also comes with pressure, right? Like pressure from your peers, pressure from your parents to be so perfect that if you don't do things a certain way and if it doesn't give you the result you want to have, you don't want to do it.
Yes.
Right? Because you have that expectation. So I think a lot of, I can feel like some of my self-sabotage comes from that, right?
Yes.
So again, moving on like how that can affect us. How does it affect you on your daily life? Lower self-esteem.
Yes.
Because you feel like you get constant disappointments. You feel like you fail all the time and you feel guilty and frustrated, right? You continue to avoid certain situations. Because again, you don't want to be put in that situation of failing or feel frustrated. So you just get into a spiral of avoiding lowering your self-esteem and avoiding the risks, of failure. Of failure, right? And it just reinforces and it deepens negative behaviors that just takes you away from the potential success you might have. Because it's important, sometimes the most successful people, in my opinion, right, it's not only you being successful, but it's also being a risk taker, you being having a positive outlook into life. And the self-sabotage people, that's what they miss sometimes. It's that positive outlook, right? And we all, I feel like every one of us, even you listeners, you can share your personal stories on that, but at some point of our lives we had that self-sabotaging attitude, and you have to find a way to tackle it.
Yes.
How can you tackle it?
How?
You have that's the big thing, right?
Yes.
How I'm still trying to figure it out. Like literally, I'm still trying to figure out. But again, small steps. Like that's something you have to understand. You have to take small steps. You have to understand your emotions, right? That lead to that behavior, and also notice when you start self-sabotaging yourself and switch that around. But all that will happen in small steps. You change your behavior, your emotions, your thoughts, right? When you notice that, you have a big presentation coming and you start washing the dishes instead of starting looking at the presentation,
Yes.
this is all the little things that are self-sabotaging. So twist your mind around.
When you say too much, I can't, or I am not, or when you start thinking like that, you know that you're self-sabotaging and you have to switch that
like
mindset.
I am not ready, the time is not there, I don't have everything. All that is a little self-sabotaging, right? Yeah, you have to self-support yourself in terms of you have to be your number one fan, right?
Yes.
Like, what can you say to yourself that will encourage you, like that will have a positive behavior?
You can, I would say, you can also surround yourself with people or situation that can reinforce that feeling.
Exactly.
I would take the example I told you. My big self-sabotaging was about my career and my job, and I start looking at new job. And when I start doing my interviews, people start saying, "Oh, Aissatou, we would love to have you. We love your personality. We know that you are capable of doing this and that." And just getting in the situation where someone is reinforcing that feeling that you yourself is self-sabotaging, that can really help you, get more confident and try new things. So I think the environment also, try to surround yourself or put yourself in a situation where you can reinforce your self-loving and self-confidence feeling.
Exactly. I agree 100%. And yeah, that is how we're gonna close this conversation.
Loved it.
Because I know, right? Like, it was a great topic, and again, in our everyday life, that's something we don't notice that we usually do. So we gave you some tips here on how to tackle it. Just know that I'm not a psychologist right there. I just did some research and talked about my personal experience. So you can share with us how are ways that you did that yourself and what you decided to overcome that self-sabotage. And in the meantime, don't forget to empower the power in you.
Yes, don't forget to bring out the power in you.
Don't forget to bring out the power in you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.